Coming at you today with a short discussion of low barometric pressure. Now, we control a lot of things in our fish tanks that are not normally controlled in the wild, in the sense of the lights that we use for our fish tanks, the water conditions, the osmotic conditions, the temperature conditions. A lot of the things in our tanks we can control. But one of the few things that is beyond our control is barometric pressure. And barometric pressure will affect our fish. What those effects are exactly still aren't well understood. There's been some studies done, but very few of them are all-encompassing or really come to conclusions that are easy to point to. What is barometric pressure? Barometric pressure is basically the weight of the air. So you have a high barometric pressure, which usually means blue skies and pretty even weather, and a low front comes into your area with a low barometric pressure center that the front is located off of. What low barometric pressure is heat rising from the surface of the earth high up into the atmosphere, enough that it reduces the barometric pressure in an area. Hot air rises, hot air expands, its movement is increased. It basically is a situation where instability is in the atmosphere, as opposed to a high pressure situation where stability is in the atmosphere. And it affects our fish. Our fish know that low pressure is coming much sooner than our barometric meters do, much sooner than our weather forecasters do, because they have swim bladders. And the pressure of the air inside those swim bladders is affected by low barometric pressure. The swim bladder will tend to expand. Now this, of course, is more functional on fish that have larger swim bladders, but it affects all fish that have swim bladders. Down through the years of keeping fish, I have always seen and heard and read it said that if you know a low pressure front is coming, your weather report has rain in the next few days, you know that will be a low pressure front coming in. High pressure will move out and a low pressure front will come in. And I've always seen it touted that if just before a low pressure front comes in, you heavily feed your fish, and then as pressure is dropping in the atmosphere, you do a water change of cooler water than what is in your tank, that it will oftentimes kick off spawning behavior. The fish will begin to spawn. But why is this exactly? Game fishermen know that when high pressure is in effect, that fish will be in the upper water feeding, and that as low pressure approaches, that they will go to cover. In other words, they will drop in the water column lower so that the barometric pressure does not affect their swim bladders as much, and that they will tend to hang in cover. And as high pressure takes over, they will tend to leave cover and look for food, and that oftentimes spurts of activity are centered around changes, changing from low to high or high to low will oftentimes create situations where movement and activity of your fish will go on. So it's helpful to know that it can affect breeding behaviors in your fish, and that low pressure and high pressure are two things which you cannot control in your fish tank, but that recognizing when one or the other is coming can help you work towards either breeding or care of your fish, as the case may be. I'm going to list a study in the description below, and the study was basically trying to find out if yellow perch, a game fish, fed more during low pressure or high pressure. And so they collected wild-caught fish and put them in lab tanks and fed them at low and high pressures to see. And basically what the finding of the study was that wild-caught fish put in a lab tank or our aquarium slowly begin to feed more and more and more once they get accustomed to their surroundings. So the result of the study is highly inconclusive as to the exact effects of low pressure or high pressure on feeding behaviors. But I think that the study is worth looking at for the bibliography at the end, because it basically covers most of the decent work that's been done on the effects of low and high pressure, barometric pressure, on our fish. So I would ask that you go and look at this study, one, to see what it was that they were trying to do and how they failed, and two, to look at the bibliography to search out deeper studies on this topic. I think it's a fascinating topic. I think it's one that gets covered very little, and that there has been very little actual research out there done on this topic. But it is a very effective breeding tool in some of our fishes. Not all, but some of our fishes. Good luck, you two.